What's up everyone, Grilling with That here. Thanks so much for watching. Today we're going to be cutting up our own filet mignon steaks from a full beef tenderloin, grilling them up on a big green egg, and finishing them off with a creamy mushroom sauce. And it's going to be delicious. So let's get started. For this cook, I'm going to be using a full beef tenderloin. These are much more economical buying them whole and then cutting up your own steaks out of it. The main thing is that it is a big piece of beef, so I'm going to actually split this up into two parts. For the part today, we're going to be cutting up steaks from the middle section of the beef tenderloin. They're going to be very tender, very tasty, and then we're going to finish them off with that creamy mushroom sauce to really kick it up another level. And then I'm going to finish with the next part doing a roast style grilled beef tenderloin. Sometimes when you see the whole beef tenderloin at the store, you might get a little bit intimidated, not knowing what to do with it, how to cut it up, how to prep it. So I'm going to kind of take all the guesswork out of it, show you guys exactly how I do it, and it's a very simple and straightforward process. Let's start by prepping our tenderloin. So I'm going to take it out of the packaging, just cut this guy open. Okay, so here is our tenderloin. As you can see, it has a little bit of fat on the underside of it, so I'm going to trim all this off, and we're going to make our steaks from the center section, which is the most tender and kind of the most even, right? So the main thing with steaks is you want to keep them the same size so they cook at the same time and come off the grill together. So we're gonna prep steaks from this part, and I'm gonna keep the end piece here for my roast tomorrow. So we're gonna trim off all the fat that's on the bottom of it. The main thing with filet mignons when you get at the restaurant or you cook it at home is you want that nice, super lean piece of beef. So the first step again will be to remove all this fat, get them looking nice and pretty, cut them out. So trimming the fat off, again, very simple process. Just take your knife and then just start removing the fat. So again, we're just slicing, cutting it off, getting it nice and even. This particular piece doesn't have much or any of the silver skin, which is that thicker white chewy fat, which is really important to get off. The smaller pieces that I'm cutting off are equally just as important, but the silver skin is what gives steak that chewy, hard to bite through texture, so you want to make sure you get all that off as well. So let's see, this oops, I got another piece on top here, so we'll cut this off as well. Again, this is a very nice looking piece of beef. A lot of it has already been trimmed off at the packaging plant, so it is looking pretty good to me. So let's start on cutting this up into our steaks. So as I mentioned, we're going to cut the steaks from the center section because it's the nicest looking, the most even. So I'm going to cut off this end piece right here. You can see on the bottom too. So let's cut off this end piece right here. So we're going to save this for the next segment. So let me flip this around here. Okay, so now the simplest way to get your steaks the same thickness, which is very important on fillets, is just use the 3-finger method. So put 3 fingers down on top of the steak and then slice right here. Okay, so this gives you a nice thickness for your steak. So now we're going to cut out a couple more from the center section right here. So again, 3 fingers down, put your knife right next to your hand and slice right down the middle. Okay, steak number 2. Let's do one more. So again, 3 fingers. So we've got our steaks, we've got our leftover piece. I'm going to save this for the next segment and make it into a roast. So here are our nice 3 evenly thick steaks. So nice fillets. You can see the nice marbling under, you can see the nice marbling in it. Very, very good looking pieces of beef. So as you can see, they are kind of a little flabby. They're not really holding their shape that well. They're just part of the beef tenderloin. So before we season them up and throw them on the grill, we're gonna tie them around with butcher's twine. So just take some butcher's twine and just one at a time, wrap it around and just make a knot, do a double knot, pull it a little pull it tightly together. See, and right away you can see that it's already forming its kind of nice and even shape. So we'll do that on all 3 of them. See, now this way I'm not worried that it's gonna fall apart on the grill while it's cooking. It's gonna retain that shape throughout the cook. Cut off the excess. Steak 1 is ready. Let's do the same thing to this other one. And our steak is ready. So we've got our 3 fillets, and as you can see, they're nice and even, same thickness. And that same thickness is gonna ensure that these guys cook at the same time when I have them on the grill. So when I temp one of them, the other 2 should be, you know, if not exactly the same, very close in that range. And that's important because especially on fillets, you wanna ensure you keep that internal temperature and not overcook the steak, because these guys are fairly lean. Filet mignons are really served best medium rare, really no more than medium, to ensure that nice tenderness, that nice bite. And if you overcook them, if you go over that medium range, they just get too chewy, too tough, and just not as pleasant. Okay, so our steaks are cut up. Now it's time to season them. For this cook, I'm gonna be using only salt and pepper because we're gonna finish them off in that creamy mushroom sauce. So I don't wanna overdo it on the seasoning, and I wanna keep it pretty basic. First part, we're gonna use a little avocado oil on the steaks. Just want to make sure you rub them on both sides all the way around. So this will allow the salt and pepper to stick a little better to the steaks. So just roll them in that oil just a little bit. Make sure they're nicely coated. We'll give them a nice coating of kosher salt. These are fairly thick, so don't be afraid of the salt. Make sure you apply a nice even layer to both sides, and then also to the edges. So just kind of roll them around a little bit. Make sure that they get coated everywhere. Next is the freshly cracked black pepper. So again, just a nice coating. On both sides, flip them over, and do the same on the other side. Okay, so our steaks are ready, they're seasoned up, they're looking pretty good. I'm gonna go outside, fire up the big green egg, and let these guys sit at room temperature and warm up just a little bit. Got the big green egg fired up, and I have it set up for dual zone cooking. So I've got my direct side and my indirect side. So my plan is to start the fillets on the direct side, give them a nice hot sear, about 2 minutes per side, check the internal temperature, and if needed, I can then finish them off on the indirect side until they're ready. My cooking temperature is gonna be about 550, 600 degrees to really give those a nice crust, nice sear on the outside. My finished internal temperature that I'm shooting for is about 120, 125 max on these. I'm going for that more rare, medium rare finish to really create maximum tenderness and flavor out of the fillets. The egg is cruising at 550 degrees. My tenderloins have been sitting out for a little while. These are looking awesome, so let's get these guys on the grill and get them going. As you can see on the direct side, that flame shooting up, so that flared up a little bit because I opened up the dome. As soon as I put the steaks on and close the lid, that fire is gonna die out, so there's no worry about burning the steaks. Okay, so let's get these guys on. So just put them directly on the grate, one after another. Close the lid. And I'll check on them in about 2 minutes. So they've been on for about 2 minutes. Let's check them out. Look at that crust. That looks amazing. So let's flip them over. We'll do 2 minutes on the other side now. Get that nice charcoal sear. Man, these things are gonna be delicious. Okay, my fillets have been on for a total of about 6 minutes now. As you can see, the outside looks awesome on both sides. So I'm gonna put them off to the indirect side to finish cooking, just like so. So this will ensure that the outside edges don't overcook because they're sitting on the direct heat. but also ensure that the inside gets fully cooked. While these steaks are on the indirect side, I do have a temperature probe inserted so I can keep an eye on the internals. Again, making sure they don't overcook the beef, and it comes out a nice medium rare at the end. My steak just hit temperature, so I pulled one of them off at 120. I'm leaving the other two on for a little bit longer for my wife and kids. They like theirs a little bit more on the medium side, so I'm gonna cook the other two to about 130, 135, and then pull those off as well. While the steak is resting, I'm gonna get started on our mushroom cream sauce. So I'm gonna add a little olive oil to my skillet and then throw in some diced shallot and minced garlic. So about 1 shallot and 2-3 cloves of garlic. I'm gonna let this kind of saute for a minute or two, soften up a bit, get fragrant, and then I'll add my other ingredients. So this is looking pretty good. The shallots and garlic are super fragrant, smells amazing. So I'm gonna add a handful of, these are sliced baby bell mushrooms. You can use any mushrooms you have. You can use regular white mushrooms. I'm using these baby bells. That's what we had at the store, so that's what I picked up. So again, I'm gonna cook these down for a couple minutes until these get a little bit soft, and then I'll start adding more ingredients. Mushrooms are looking pretty good, so I'm gonna add about a 1/4 cup of beef stock. Add some more liquid. You can also add white wine to this instead. I went with beef stock because we had a container open and I just wanted to use that up, but wine is also perfectly good to use as well. All right, our mushrooms, our sauce is coming along nicely. Mushrooms are getting nice and soft, so I'm gonna add some heavy cream now. You don't need a lot, just start with that, maybe a 1/4 cup, mix it all in. It's pretty good to me right there. So I'm gonna let this simmer on low heat, let the liquid evaporate a little bit, thicken up, and then our sauce will be done. Okay, our sauce is looking pretty good. It's thickening it up nicely. If you drag your spoon across the bottom and it leaves a trail where you can see the bottom of your pan, and that is a good sign. So it just needs a couple more minutes, but now is a good time to season this guy up. So we didn't add any seasoning, so I'm gonna do a little fresh cracked black pepper and just a little bit of salt. You don't need too much salt because the beef stock is already pretty salty, but you can always taste and just see how it is to your liking and add more or less. And the last thing that I'll add is a handful of chopped parsley. So just add a little freshness to it, mix it all in, and our sauce is almost done. This will be so good on those fillets. Look at that. Delicious. My steaks have been resting for a good 10-15 minutes. Our sauce is done, so let's cut into them and see how they turned out. So here's the one that I pulled a little bit sooner. So this one was pulled at 120 internal, which is kind of my ideal finish temperature. And here is the sauce. And I just want to point out how freaking amazing this sauce smells and tastes. It is so good. This is going to be good on the steak. It'll be good on pork, really on anything. Such an easy sauce to make, just a couple simple ingredients, and it's gonna be so good. So let's slice down the middle of our steak. See how this turned out. Here we go, look at that. That is a perfect medium rare finish. Kind of more on the rare side, but it looks amazing. I'm not sure how well you can see that in there, but a nice kind of a edge to edge pink. Very good. So let me pull the twine from the steak. Let's slice this guy down. Make a couple slices. Oh man, look at this. The beauty of a fillet. It is just so tender. You can see the nice marbling inside. That's what creates the tenderness of it. It looks so good. Okay, slice number 2 and a little smaller one here. You arrange them like this so it's a little bit easier to see. Now we'll take our sauce. And just layered it right on top. Look at these big mushroom pieces, man, so good. Our steak is prepped. Check that out, looks unbelievable, smells amazing. Only one thing left to do, and that's to give it a taste. So let me just grab a piece from here. Get that sauce on there. Here we go. Let's try it out. That is delicious. The filet just melts in your mouth. Cooking it to 120 is probably the ideal temperature for filet tenderness. And then you get the richness of the sauce, the mushrooms, the salt, the pepper. It is just over the top. Let me try another piece here, the one that has more of a mushroom in it. Here we go. Mushrooms and beef is just such a good combination. The two just go so well together. So that's gonna be it for this video. Hopefully you guys liked it. Let me know down in the comments what you think of the video. If you like what I'm doing here, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and thanks again for watching.